1, 2, 3, 4.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, team make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? It's the Babylon 5 podcast. It's your boy. It's Jermaine Event. How you guys doing? I don't know why I feel like I've been away for a long time, but I know change is gonna come. Like, I don't know why I feel like I've been away for so long when I was just here last week. But I did just get off that bird. Alright? I just got off the fucking bird. And I realized the truth. I'm getting too old for this shit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 185. We're calling this bad boy Die Hard. Because I came to a realization at the T-Mobile Arena yesterday. I was like, I'm getting too fucking old for this. Traveling out halfway, like to the other side of the country. Damn near, nigga. Yeah. And I don't know, you just sitting in a fucking cramped ass space on a plane. And you just fucking sitting. Cause I like to get there for the prelims. Before I was like, why do niggas just, you buy these tickets, these expensive ass tickets, and then you show up to the event, like, niggas show up to the event at the main card. You missed like 10 fights. You show up at the main card. Why'd you, I mean, I guess, like, cause like there's somebody sitting behind me. I didn't pay attention to these people, but I could hear them speaking. And this one woman was asking the guy she was with. She was like, so, cause I went to Vegas, as you guys should know. And during UFC 285, I don't know if a lot of people saw this. They were filming scenes for the upcoming Roadhouse movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. So Jake Gyllenhaal is like in the octagon, like they're like fake fighting. He's throwing these knees and all kinds of shit. Yeah. So I'm sitting there for that shit for hours. I didn't know, I'm just be sitting in this space for hours. I mean, I did know I was gonna be sitting there. That's how I usually do it. But like, I don't know, man. With that added Jake Gyllenhaal filming, it just irked me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I'm too old for this shit. And then I'm leaving, and it was just like cold. Nigga, it was cold. I was like, man, I want to go home. Like, I don't want to go back to the hotel. I want to go home. Like, I'm getting too old for this shit. So, this is episode 185, Die Hard, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the trip to Vegas, I guess, or I don't know. I'll try to touch on it if it comes to me. I don't do things. People were like, oh, like, you got to tell me all about this trip. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to get there, go to bed. Got there pretty late. I'm going to get there, go to bed, do nothing. Until the show, go to the show, go back to the hotel and go to bed. Like, that's what I'm going to do. No gambling, nigga. I don't be doing that shit. Like, none of that. It's boring. There's not much to tell, but unless you like MMA, my nigga, then there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about there. So we're going to talk about UFC 285, headlined with 2 title fights. Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane. Did Jon Jones solidify himself as the GOAT? We will talk about it. Also, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. I feel like giving it away as I say it in that order. We'll talk about that fight, of course. Talk about maybe some more fights on that card. It was pretty good card. Really good card. And then we're going to finish off, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about next week, Merab Dvalishvili taking on Petr Yan in Las Vegas. But I didn't know this before, actually. My Lyft driver from the airport, he was saying, like, he was a big UFC guy, so that was a pretty hype driver. Probably the best driver I've ever had. But homeboy was like, next week's card is at the Virgin Hotel or some shit like that. And I was like, what? It's not at the Apex? He's like, nah, it's like in front of a bigger crowd. And I was like, I've never heard something like that. Like, not recently, because they don't really travel. It's either we're we're going to fucking do shows at the Apex, like smaller shows at the Apex, in front of like 100 people, or we're going to do it at the T-Mobile Arena. That's how it seems to be. Or we going to fucking Abu Dhabi. That's how it's been ever since fucking COVID, you know. Ever since that thing went down. But this is going to be in front of a crowd, so that's pretty interesting. It's pretty hype for Yan Merab to be in front of a crowd. So we're going to talk about that fight. Maybe some other fights on that card. We'll see how I feel. There are some interesting fights on that card. And if you want to see some interesting shit, follow your boy on Instagram and Twitter at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com if you guys would be so kind to hit that like button. Don't be my Negro, be my nigga. Be my nigga. And hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast. If you guys would like to follow your boy on Twitch, head on over to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys want to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my nigga. I was going to say Niji. I'm like, I just said niggas. I said don't be my Negro, be my nigga. Which, as you should know, is a reference to the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin. My favorite scene. But don't just be don't just be my Niji. Be my patron. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my patron today, ladies and gentlemen. What went down at UFC 285? If we're going to start somewhere, we could start at the main event. All right. Where John Jones makes his heavyweight debut and defeats Cyril Bongamin. Beats Cyril Gane in the very first round. And fuck, dude. This neck crank is basically like, I don't know, he got the arm under the chin, and then the arm, if you guys should see, look up if you didn't see the fight, I hope you guys did see this fight because it's insane. Just for the 2 minutes that it was, man, this, like, you didn't even know what the fuck happened when that submission happened. Everybody's like, what just happened? And as you can see, like, I have it here if you guys are watching the YouTube video, fucking, as John is walking away, like, with his lips, with his finger on his lips, like, shushing the crowd, you just see the look on Cyril Gane is just like, what the fuck just happened? He's looking over at John in disbelief at what the fuck just happened. John Jones walks through Cyril Gane, all right? If you guys are long-time listeners for this podcast, my nigga, you know I've been hyping up Cyril Gane for years. I thought he was going to dominate Francis, and he was for the first 2 rounds. Francis had nothing. This guy that's calling himself the heavyweight king, I mean, he was the champion, yes, but Gane has no wrestling. He knew that. He exploited it, and it was successful. He showed that to the world. John finished this man in 2 minutes because of his lack of wrestling. Okay, but as far as stand-up is concerned, Francis had absolutely nothing for Surreal. That fight went all 5 rounds. All right, people are saying to me they still want to see that Francis fight. What about this fight tells you he wouldn't absolutely dominate another guy who doesn't have the wrestling acumen of Jon Jones, who said he's been wrestling since he's 8? Is that what he said? 8 years old, my nigga? He fucking just manhandled Surreal Gane. Put that grown man strength on him. Surreal looks fucking shocked. He doesn't know what the fuck just happened. And he's just sitting there, like, for a while. Fucking his coach comes in, is like hugging him. He's just sitting on the ground like it's okay. He's telling his coach it's okay. So, dude, Gane looked fucking shook from the get-go. Alright? When they walked up, when they did the face-off, like in the octagon, like right before the fight for the championship, as they do, like Gane walked up and he tried to look Jon Jones in the eyes, but Jon Jones like kind of just like walked up and looked down as he usually does in face-off. So it was weird that Jon Jones looked him in the eyes at the first face-off at the press conference, because he usually doesn't do that. He usually looks down. Usually just looks away. He doesn't look at the fucking fighter. And this time, as they did it, he didn't look at Gane. So then Gane just like copied it and started to look down instead of looking at Jon. And I was like, that's weird. This is me watching the replay. I was like, that's weird. Why is he doing that? And then when they did the touch gloves, like Jon touched his glove and started to back up, and then Gane like stuck his hands out and like was like trying to touch his chest or some shit, or like still trying to like touch gloves again. I was like he's overextended like on the glove, he wanted a second glove touch. I was like, yo, homeboy was nervous from the get-go. The moment had definitely gotten to Gane, but I don't know if it really mattered, because especially as I was watching the Weasel break it down, Gane, in the 2 minutes that he was there, maybe the minute and a half that he was standing, he would come in and try to like do a leg kick and then pretty much run out of space. He would run out of there because he respected Jon's takedown. His takedown offense, right? And he's himself. So he knows the deficiencies in his takedown defense. So he was trying to avoid getting too close to Jon at every point. There's like earlier on, I think Jon came in for an elbow, and then they kind of like started to hook up, and Surreal got the fuck out of there. The next time Jon got his hands on him, he just threw him to the ground. Gane was able to kind of fence walk a little bit, but then Jon just sat him down, and that was the finishing sequence. 2 minutes and 4 seconds, and new solidified GOAT, Jon Bones Jones. It's amazing. He's amazing. Looks like he's gonna fight Stipe Miocic in July. And I see no reason why he wouldn't walk through fucking Stipe. I see no reason why he wouldn't walk through most of this division. Honestly, I think the only person that might be able to fuck with him, only 2 people, are the Sergeys. I think the Sergeys could give some problems to Jon Jones, but I'm talking about Sergey Pavlovich, Sergey Spivak. The Sergeys are something to watch out for in the heavyweight division. But other than that, I think John is pretty solidified. I see him beating most of this division. Most of the division. There's only like a few guys at the top that I even like to watch. You guys know that, man. And Blagoy Ivanov. Outside of that, like these few, like 8 guys and Blagoy, I don't really want to see no heavyweight fights. Y'all were talking about getting rid of the 125-pound division. Get rid of the fucking... like, most of the fighters gassed out after one round. So, like, I see John just absolutely dominating this division if he so, for however long he chooses to. With the only exceptions being the Sergeys. Y'all know I was high on Aspinall, but he looked so wild in that fight. Like, that Curtis Blades fight was short, but if you watch that fight, it was like, whoa, what is he's throwing these crazy punches and just coming forward and like getting caught. He didn't look like this ace that I thought he was coming into there. I saw a lot of holes, and I don't know if he would be able to outmuscle John Jones into these positions that he's able to do these like lesser heavyweights. Because I don't think it was going to go that way against Curtis Blades. So I need to see some improvements from Aspinall from what I saw there. But and knew John is the GOAT. It was crazy to be there. His wife or his fiance, they're back together. She was in the octagon. Yeah. He called Francis Ngannou said he was the heavyweight king. So he tweeted that out like to John. And John responded with he's like all that muscle and a big ass pussy. That's the John Jones quote response to Francis calling himself the heavyweight king. All that muscle and a big ass pussy. So I was happy to be there. I've never seen John Jones live. I wanted it to be, honestly, I was always a big Gon fan. I didn't know the holes were there in the grappling and the wrestling. I didn't know the holes were there. Because he would dominate people so much on the stand-up, you didn't really have a choice to get there. It never really happened. But when it got there with Francis, unfortunately, we saw the problems, and it's sad. I wanted a chess match in there. I wanted it to be some rounds at least. Not just 2 minutes. Like, I wanted it to be some rounds. But maybe next time against Stipe, but I don't see any reason why that would happen. In the co-main event, we had a second championship on the line, which was Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Alexa Grasso unsuccessfully, as we have and new UFC champion Alexa Grasso. She becomes the first female Mexican champion. And I think most importantly, as far as this podcast is concerned, I named Alexa Grasso the 2022 Fighter of the Year. I said everything she did in this year really showed me that she's like ready. Like she's on her way, is what I was saying. I was really impressed with what I saw from Grasso last year. So it did not shock me that she won this fight. She shocked the world. But she did not shock the Babylon 5 podcast because I was giving her props. I was acknowledging how great she looked last year. All right, her boxing, her grappling looked a lot better. All right, that was a hole for her back in the day, and she looked great. She was my Fighter of the Year, 2022. So it does not shock me that she's able to defeat the GOAT, Valentina Shevchenko, man. People were saying nonsense, honestly. I've seen people say that Valentina was dominating the fight up until that submission. That's not what was happening. See, this is the way that Valentina fights, and it usually works out for her until this fight happened. She doesn't move, man. And it was very annoying in this fight. Right away, I was like, dude, she's got to move. Because fucking Grasso would just come in with these combinations, and that's what Valentina does in her fights. She just walks into, like, a certain distance, just slightly out of range, so that you have to come forward. She doesn't move. If you take 2 steps back, she takes 2 steps forward and not another step. And she lets you come forward so she can counter. She just stands there. All right? I wish she'd fucking move and initiate some shit. But that's just not what she does. And it really bit her in the ass in this one. She was getting lit up in the boxing from Alexa Grasso. Oh, shit. Then that's what that was. There was a picture I had of her, like, boxing up Valentina, and there's a picture that just like wouldn't work before, and I was like, whatever, I'm sure I don't need whatever picture that was. Now that I'm thinking, that's her like fucking just piecing Valentina up. Valentina's in denial to think that she was in control of that fight until that submission. Alright, Grasso, I feel like Grasso was firmly, I say that there was a point in the fight where Valentina got Grasso in the crucifix. Now, that was a pretty bad moment, but because Grasso was working out of it so well, Valentina wasn't able to do much damage in the crucifix. Usually, that's a fight-ending position for Valentina, but Grasso worked that position. She knew how to get out of there. So, this whole concept that Shevchenko was winning the fight, was dominating the fight, it's not the case. Grasso went in there and beat that ass, all right? Shout out to Alexa Grasso, the first female Mexican champion in the UFC. She looked amazing out there. She's the Babylon 5 Podcast 2022 Fighter of the Year. I called it, my nigga. I called it. I saw it coming. I told you niggas Charles was going to be champion before it happened. And I told you niggas Grasso was on her way. Okay? But I'm just some guy. I'm some guy in a room talking to himself, alright? That's all it is. Shout out to Alexa Grasso, man. This was a good-ass card. This is a really good-ass card. We had Shavkat Rakhmonov in Fight of the Night versus Jeff Neal, which I think some people, like at the time, it was like kind of back and forth. I mean, I felt like Shavkat was touching this boy up. All right? Touching this boy up like a Catholic priest. But then Jeff Neal would land something. He would land something heavy. His hands of steel, Jeff Neal. He would land a heavy punch. I think in the second round, he landed like a 3-strike combination on, like just 3 good punches on Shavkat. And Shavkat like backed up and said something to him, and like Jeff Neal like was like, yeah. And they were like smiling at it. I was like, dude, hell yeah, this is a badass fight. Like they were fucking trading, but Shavkat was 1000% getting the best of Neal. And by the 3rd round, he pretty much like broke this man and gets this standing like, I don't even know, like bulldog choke. That's possibly like a bulldog choke. Look at that grip he's got on there. That's a good grip. That's a good grip. Bo Nickel, I just wanted to touch on Bo Nickel, man. His head and arm triangle choke fucking just pissed me the fuck off. I'm at the arena screaming, get off to the side. Get off to the side. He doesn't even know how to fucking do the submission. You could have finished that so much sooner. But he doesn't know how to do it. I'm babbling here. Let's go back to Shavkat. Shavkat Rakhmonov chokes out Jeff Neal in the 3rd round in Fight of the Night. It was a great fucking fight, ladies and gentlemen. And then this man calls out Colby Covington. And I tweeted out, nigga, I said, Kobe ain't fighting this dude. You know what I'm saying? Kobe ain't fighting this monster. But apparently, Dana White said he does like the idea of this fight and that they've offered Kobe like 3 fights and he accepted all 3, but then they just ended up not working out. So it's saying that he accepted fights and then on the other side, it didn't end up working out. So there's people saying, oh, Kobe's scared to fight. He's scared to fight. Dana just said Kobe's accepted 3 fights already, but they just have not worked out. So don't be coming at my boy, all right? Don't be coming at my boy, Kobe Covington. And if Shavkat wants to lose that O, I'm sure my boy Kobe Covington would happily oblige you. All right? I'm sure my boy would happily oblige you. You know, let's run down this card a little bit. I should have put the... Oh, do I have the card? Oh, yeah, I do have the card loaded up here. I kept it there from last week. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Jermaine. You're doing something right for once. Can I make this any bigger? Oh, yeah, I can make it a little bigger. There we go. So we got, Mateusz Gamrot, Jalen Turner. My nigga, I 1000% feel like Jalen Turner won that fight. I feel like this is my opinion. I think from, not even based off of what the little bit I think I know about the rule book, but knockdowns are worth way more. Maybe like 100 times more than a fucking takedown. Especially if Jalen Turner is not taking much damage from the takedowns. He's not beating up Jalen Turner in all of those takedowns. So Jalen Turner is getting up. He's butt scooting to the fence and getting up for most of those takedowns. Jalen Turner is lighting Mateusz Gamrot up in the striking and dropped him twice. Dropped him, I believe, in the second and the third. But yes, Mateusz Gamrot was able to get a couple takedowns, not do much damage, but knockdowns 1000%. They're worth more than a takedown. That's literally in the rule book. Like, the damage trumps everything. That's in the rule book. And a takedown without damage is essentially nullified. These are things in the rule book. There's no way Gamrot should have won that fight. But they gave it to him. And apparently Jalen Turner he's never won a fight that went to the judges. That's just fucking ridiculous. Every fight he's lost, he's 13-5, is a fight that went to the judges. So it's either finish or they gonna fuck you over is how it's been going for Jalen Turner. Then you got Bo Nickel, Jamie Pickett, and Bo Nickel, I say he definitely need Jamie Pickett in the fucking balls because Pickett was perfectly defending the takedown. Bo was not able to get the motion. Then he threw that knee. And you could see from the reaction of Pickett that it was a low blow. And even in the replay, you see that it's a low blow. And as he's taken down from this low blow, he's talking to the ref like, yo, he's telling him that this happened. The ref is like, oh, didn't see it pretty much. So Jamie Pickett loses to Bo Nickel in Bo Nickel's debut. But Jamie Pickett's team is saying they're going to challenge this. They're going to appeal this and have it to a no contest because of the knee to the midsection, to the testicles. Even Bo is saying, like, I don't cheat. I don't need to do things to try to get an advantage. And you can say that, my guy. Like, and maybe you can be real. Fuck. I'm, like, moving my... Like, maybe it's real, all right? He can say that shit. Damn, I'm fucking up. he can say that shit. Maybe he actually believes it, but that doesn't mean, like, even if he had no ill intent with that knee, that it didn't land illegally. It still could land illegally without the intent, and I believe that's what happened. And the ref didn't stop it, so why should Bo stop? If the ref didn't tell him, hey, stop, no, that was an illegal, like, legal knee, then you keep fighting. That's just how this goes. So for me, I feel like there's no harm, no foul for Bo Nickel getting to just keep fighting, to just get that victory, because the ref didn't stop him, didn't tell him to stop. So he told him to stop once Jamie Pickett tapped out. So if he kept choking that nigga out, or just said, fuck it, I'm going to just keep beating on this dude, even after the referee pulls me off on some Jake Gyllenhaal shit. They was filming Roadhouse, you know, as I said, and they kept doing this scene where Jake was, like, viciously beating the shit out of some dude. Like, the ref pulls him off the dude, and he's just like, nah, and, like, runs back and keeps beating the shit out of this dude. They have to bring in an oxygen tank, all kinds of shit. I was like, nigga, I've never seen anything like that. Like, ever. What is going on? Like, that's the most dramatic scene ever that they're filming. Never seen some shit happen like that in real life. Where the fuck... Whoa, dude. Fucking A, dude. I've seen fighters who put on leg locks and kept them on even after the person submitted and really fucked people up. There's that one guy in the UFC, I forget his name, but he's injured a lot of people by just, like, being a dirty motherfucker and choosing to not let go of these leg locks even after people tap. So when I'm watching this movie and this guy is just like, nope, the dude's knocked out, not moving, and I'm just going to keep punching his fucking face in even after the ref stops, that's fucking dirty shit. Is Jake Gyllenhaal the bad guy in this movie? Is he the bad guy in this movie? Is Connor the good guy? I can't tell. Because that scene is fucking dirty. I don't know how you spin that as that dude's the good guy when I'm looking at that scene. Now I'm interested. Because, dude, I don't know if you guys know what Roadhouse is. And I was just even more confused as I'm there at UFC 285 and they're filming this movie. And it's like they're doing like a fake UFC championship fight. They had a fake face-off at the ceremonial weigh-ins. And they had a fake ceremonial weigh-in. And I don't know. It's fucking weird. Because the original Roadhouse, the premise sounded fucking terrible. Where it was like some nigga with a PhD. Like, I don't know. This nigga with a doctorate can't find work as a doctor and ends up being a bouncer at some fucking bar that's real rowdy. And then it's just up to him to fucking turn this bar around and make it profitable for the owner. I was like, that sounds like a terrible movie. That makes no sense at all. So then I was like, Connor's remaking that shit? Oh, it was like, I think like some girl and some rich dude were also involved in this whole fucking, like, added into that whole bar, I'm saving this bar situation, which would be where I figured Connor comes in. But if they're doing fucking Jake Gyllenhaal as a UFC fighter, literally not like some fake company, the UFC, you got, as we're there, they're doing the scenes with the actual referees, Cutman, like, everybody, Bruce Buffer. I was like, this is, what is this movie? What is this movie? It's not the original Roadhouse that came out years before there was ever a UFC. There was no, I didn't think niggas was fighting in the UFC to save this bar. I'll try to find the movie and and let you know, like, no, nigga, they low-key was fighting for some company called the UFC, nigga. I was like, what the fuck? I went and watched the first Roadhouse, nigga. They was putting on bar fights for a fake company called the UFC. It's crazy. UFC 22. And and that's why they're doing UFC 222. That's not going to be the case. Anywho, I was annoyed. My back hurt watching just being there. I'm getting too old for this shit. Then you had Cody Garbrandt. People were booing him. They were saying the fight was boring. He was doing like breakdance shit. Like right away when he first started doing the breakdance shit, it's like, okay, Cody, this is the Cody we wanted, like old Cody. But then like it was like, all right, Cody, let's see a little bit of action. And I didn't agree with the booing. All right, I didn't agree with the booing. I did not want to see Cody get knocked out. He's been knocked out in like 4 of his last fights, like knocked out unconscious. And I did not want to see it happen live. I was thankful that I got to see Cody get a W there, man. Everybody was cheering for Cody early on. And then by the second round, by the end of the first round, they're booing. And they just kept booing and booing. And it's like, dude, you guys need to shut the fuck up. Congrats to Cody. I felt like Dricus Duplessis versus Derek Brunson should have got like Duplessis should have got performance of the night bonus or some shit. Like, they said they didn't give him anything, probably because he was saying, like, yo, I've been getting performance. He said he gets bonuses every time he fights, and y'all put me on the prelims. Like, he said that before, like, this week. And then he has a great fight where it's like Derek Brunson was pretty much dominating with the wrestling in the first round, and he had to come back in the second round and got the finish. It was a very dramatic fight, and he doesn't even get performed. He gets no recognition from Dana White. I don't know if he was like, don't ask me a fucking question about that nigga Duplessis. That white nigga. That fucking white nigga out of South Africa. These niggas, yeah. Talking about, they keep putting that colonizer ass shit about, we need to bring the UFC to South Africa. And not the rest of Africa. Like, see, this is my issue. Niggas might be like, he just wants to bring it to South Africa. Yeah, but that's not what niggas said. He was like, nah, if we're going to bring the UFC to Africa, it only makes sense to bring it to South Africa. He didn't say, let's bring it to multiple places in Africa. He said not any of those other places, and doesn't make sense to go to those other places in Africa. Only makes sense to come to South Africa. Nigga, why? Duplessis. Why are you against them going to other places in Africa? Why can't they go to these other places in Africa? Like, he's been campaigning against, not just campaigning that they go to the UFC. He keeps saying that it doesn't make any sense for them to go to those places. Like, maybe that's not what he means. I don't feel like he needs to compete. Why do you have to try to shit on the blacker side of Africa to campaign for fights in Africa, my nigga? That's the part that I don't understand. Just campaign to have fights in Johannesburg, nigga. You ain't gotta try to shit on the rest of Africa, but yeah. That nigga said he wants to fight. I think he's calling out basically. He said he doesn't want to fight Paulo. Said he wants a number 1 contender fight. And I know a guy, all right? I know a guy at middleweight who was just booked, or he thought he was booked to fight Paulo Costa. And then that fizzled out. And my boy over there, he's looking for a fight. I'd love to see Robert Whittaker versus Dricus Duplessis next. I don't know if he called that boy out, but I'd love to see it. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So, there's some good fights. Shout out to Hebas got the victory over Rujao. I think Rujao just didn't look as good as she always did. She's 36. Maybe that's a factor into it. I felt like she should have been a lot better than Hebas on the feet. And she ended up getting dropped on the feet by Hebas' sloppy ass fucking striking. I didn't see that coming. But it happened, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. So shout out to Hebas. Julian Marquez loses to Marc-Andre Barriault by attempted murder. I believe it was Mark Smith was the referee, and I'm screaming like, what does he have to do? Stop the fight. He's just unanswered uppercut. It was like Joe Rogan after the fight, he was like, were you wondering what you had to do there? Because it was a minute and a half of what did he say? Of undefended uppercuts. A minute and a half. He's got this dude just up against the fence trying to cover up, and dude is just beating the shit out of him for a minute and a half before the ref finally stepped. I was screaming like, what the fuck is going on? What does he have to do? Like, fuck. Dude was getting... Julian Marquez got fucking almost murdered in there, alright? They almost killed that man. And I didn't understand why it had to happen, but maybe Mark Smith, maybe he bet on Marquez. Marquez was just getting that ass beaten. He was like, nah, I'm just going to give him a chance. Because I see no reason for him to let him take that much abuse. Why are you trying to give him a chance to come back in there? He was just taking uppercuts for a minute and a half, not defending himself. He looked like a fucking mess at the end of that. He's fucking torn the fuck up. But shout out to Marc-Andre Barriault. He looked great. I thought he was going to win that fight, and then I went on Tapology, and you niggas convinced me to roll with Julian Marquez. But I was like, damn, I should have stuck with I knew it. Like, I watched these fights. I watched these niggas fight, and my gut was telling me Marc-Andre Barriault's going to win that fight, regardless of what Tapology forum niggas say. I don't be on that forum. Nah, I don't be on that forum. Yeah, Ian Machado Gary finishes Kenan Song. It looked like he almost got finished in the first. He got dropped with a hook, and then Song hopped on that back and was like just at the arm wrapped around the back and was just lighting him up. But Gary showed his toughness, showed to have a chin, came back and finished Song, I believe, in the third round. So, yeah, it was a pretty fucking dramatic ass fight. Gary looked great. Cameron Simon, the other white nigga that was campaigning for fights to not be in fucking Northern Africa, but just in the whitest part of Africa. Cameron Simon defeats Mana Martinez. Dude, Jessica Penne versus Tabitha Ricci. I'm sitting there like, does Penne even really want to be in there? It looks so weird to me. It looked weird to me. She kind of like would get taken down. Ricci would get back up. And then Penne would just like sit there and kind of like just wait for her to come close so she could try to throw up kicks. And it's like, dude, you could literally just stand up. Literally just stand up. And at some point she would just stand up. But I was like, why does she keep just sitting on the ground here? Why is she trying to play this jiu-jitsu game? And then she gets subbed. She ended up getting subbed by Tabitha Ricci via armbar. I didn't understand that. I'm like, is this her last fight? This didn't look too good. We can move on. UFC 285 was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, I saw Kenyon Martin was a few rows ahead of me. Wasn't that far ahead of me. Yeah, I was probably the only real nigga excited. Like, I was like, oh shit, that's Kmart. I was hype as fuck to see Kmart. I was like, holy shit. Like, I was more hyped to see Kenyon Martin than anybody I saw. Like, any of the fighters or anything. I was like, oh, shit. Like, it took me back when I seen, oh, shit. So, shout out to Kenyon Martin. But it's pretty cool. Pretty cool show. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this shit, though, like that, man. I know Vegas, if they start traveling again and we could get to a place with more reasonably priced tickets and more reasonably priced hotels and a reasonable distance, and not just too much fucking shit going on, my niggas. I'm getting too old for this Vegas shit. UFC need to move around, my nigga. Move around. I ain't got time for that. Nah. I think I like tweaked my knee. I felt like I was walking down the stairs and I was like, nigga, I'm getting too old for this shit. That shit. That was like the icing on the cake for all that shit. I was like, I ain't doing this no more. I don't think I'm doing this anymore. Conor was there, and it's like, all right, now I don't need to go see this nigga fight in September because I've got that McGregor energy right here. I'm already feeling it, so I don't need to be there. He's feeling my energy, and I'm giving him that good luck. He's gonna defeat Michael Chandler. All right, he's gonna defeat Michael Chandler. They were saying that something happened in the Ultimate Fighter house between Conor and Michael Chandler, and Dana was saying it got pretty bad, and he said he's getting old, and that when he was younger he would have known to get in there quicker, but he didn't, and things went too far. So I'm like, damn, now I really want to see the Ultimate Fighter. Like, what the fuck went down? And like, Chandler's doing interviews saying, I don't like Conor anymore. He's like, turns out I don't like Conor. So I'm like, what happened? Something went down. I don't know, but I will not be in attendance unless they're like, we're random as fuck doing this at the Pfizer Forum. Like, oh, you niggas coming to my, all right. You coming to the neck of the woods in my hood? Show you what we living like? Yeah, I go to that show. If you niggas put that show in Milwaukee, but why would you? Why would you? Maybe if Giannis say something, I would love to watch Conor McGregor fight at the Pfizer Forum. Then we could get Conor McGregor at the fight. We gotta get Giannis to say something. He the king of this city. We gotta get Giannis to say something. You know what I'm saying? But it's not gonna happen. I need you niggas to start traveling. Go to better cities. Like, Boston might be reasonable. I feel like Boston would be reasonable. Just go to decent cities, man. Just stop doing this Vegas shit. I'm over Vegas. Next week, crazy as fuck, we have Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili. And it says Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. It is a fight night. But as I believe I said it, the Lyft driver told me this fight was taking place in the Virgin Hotel Theater or whatever, and it's 100% true. This fight is happening in front of a larger crowd, not like the T-Mobile Arena, but it's gonna happen in front of a larger crowd. So I'm happy for that. And this fight between Merab and Petr Yan is very interesting to me because, you know, their games are obviously two polar opposites. It should be somewhat similar to Petr Yan versus Merab's teammate Aljamain Sterling. But the only difference is I don't believe Merab's stand-up is on par with Aljamain Sterling. I don't believe that at all. What you're going to get from Merab is relentless takedown, relentless chain wrestling, all right? And it's going to be a tale of two fucking fights, potentially. Like, whose style is going to win out? Is Merab going to be able to hold Yan down and do some damage? I'm not sure, man. Yan's really good. And if Yan is able to stuff those takedowns, I don't think Merab wants to strike with this man, all right? This man is fucking scary on the feet. I think it's night and day on the feet. I just don't think Merab is as good as Aljo. I think his striking is nowhere near as good as Petr Yan's. But I don't think the wrestling of Yan is clearly not anywhere near Merab's, man. This is a very interesting fight. I'm not sure who to go with. I'm not sure who wins this fight just yet. Petr Yan 16-4, Merab 15-4, man. Got the same amount of experience as far as MMA is concerned, or professional MMA is concerned. But they've used their time very differently, as we can see in the styles. This is an interesting fight. I don't know who takes this fight. I don't know. It's a pretty interesting fight. Also on this card is Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. The rebooking of that fight is happening. You have Alexander Volkov versus Alexander Romanov taking place on this card. There's some good fights on this card. As you guys know, I'm definitely going to be watching. There's this guy with this name I'm looking. Lukas Brzeski. But the L has like some line through it. I was like, is there something on my screen? But as I'm scrolling, it's staying there. Where is he from? Oh, he's out of Poland. He's Polish. Interesting. And this is not his UFC debut. He was in the Contender Series. Why was it a no contest? How is he? I'm confused. It was originally a win, but the fight was changed after he tested positive for clomiphene. I don't know what the fuck clomiphene is. Let's do a Google search, ladies and gentlemen, because it sounds like your boy is on the juice. It's used to induce ovulation in women who do not produce eggs. What? Okay, Clomid for men can help improve several aspects of male fertility, including it increases your testosterone levels, it helps you with your hormone ratios. So yeah, he was this, like, I think it would help him like try to cover up steroid use, because your fucking testosterone would be like a lot lower, and your fucking hormone ratio would be off. So your boy is juicing. Lucas, they're all on fucking steroids, but it's just like, dude, learn how to fucking do your steroids. When did that happen? So that was 2021, and he fought like a year later. I wonder what the suspension was. Suspension. Yeah, wow, am I tripping right now? I wonder what the suspension was, because he fought right away and lost via split decision to Martin Bidet. He's fighting this guy, Carl Williams. Doesn't matter. Your boy is juicing. And some pretty interesting fights on this card. So, you guys don't want to miss it. JJ Aldrich versus Ariane Lipski. Some good fights. Mario Batista versus Guido Canetti. I never really know what to expect with Guido, so who knows? It's going to be a good card. All right, watch it. If you guys were on the fence, just go ahead and watch it. It's going to be interesting. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com if you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast. I'd appreciate it so much. And if you guys would like to follow your boy on Twitch, go ahead and follow this podcast at twitch.tv/Babylon5. Let's look to cop some merchandise. Head on over to teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patron. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod. This has been episode 185. Die hard. Because I'm getting too old for that bullshit of Las Vegas, my nigga. I'm too old. I'm over it, nigga. Just is what it is. Thank you guys for being here another week. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down Vatican now. Bang bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Team make we chant down Vatican now.